Hi, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to Poem Praise 2. I do thank you for tuning in, and peace and blessings be upon you and your family this evening. Now we are going to get right back into For Women Only. We are now in chapter number 5, not 4, but 5, where sex changes everything. We're in take number 3, which the title of this is called Get Involved and Have More Fun Too. And it goes like this. One man on the churchgoers survey was particularly blunt. The woman needs to play an active role in the sex life. She needs to tell her mate what she needs, wants, and feels. Passive wife equals boring wife. Whew. I discovered that many men love the secret knowledge of having a wife who is sexually motivated. A few years ago, I overheard a 30-year-old single friend telling Jeff what he wanted in a wife. I want a wife who is a model of Christian virtue, godly, faithful, and always kind to others. A grin crept in his voice. But when I get her home, it's like that song, Behind Closed Doors, from the 70s. A married friend told me recently, that's what every man wants. The girl next door in the living room and a wild cat in the bedroom. Some of us may think that being a wild cat is a bit beyond us. Not so, say the men. Now, some of us may laugh at that and think that being a wild cat is a bit beyond us. Not so, say the men. All that means, they say, is a wife who makes the first move once in a while and who brings all of her attention and passion for her man to bed with her. Do that and watch your husband light up with delight. If you need help, get it. I recognize that some women might very much wish that they could respond more wholeheartedly to their husband's sexual needs, but feel stopped in their tracks for various personal reasons. I don't want to add any more frustration. I do, however, want to encourage you to get the personal or professional help you need to move forward. The choice to pursue healing will be worth it, both for you and the man you love. Make sex a priority. An expert from today's Christian Woman article captures this issue and provides an important challenge to change our thinking. The author starts by admitting that although her husband really wanted to make love more often, it's just wasn't one of my priorities. She then describes a subsequent revelation. I felt what I did all day was meet other people's needs, whether it was caring for my children, working in ministry, or washing my husband's clothes. By the end of the day, I wanted to be done with need meeting. I want my pillow and a magazine. But God prompted me. Are the needs you meet for your husband the needs he wants met? If our daughters weren't perfectly primped, he didn't complain. If the kitchen floor needed mopping, he didn't say a word. And if he didn't have any socks to wear, he simply threw them in the washer himself. I soon realized I regularly said no to the one thing he asked of me. I sure wasn't making myself available to my husband by militantly adhering to my plan for the day. Would the world end if I didn't get my tires rotated? I've been so focused on what I wanted to get done and what my children needed, I cut my hubby out of the picture. I soon realized I regularly said no to the one thing he asked of me. Are the many other things that take our time and energy truly as important as this one? Now would be a good time to reevaluate priorities with the help of our husbands, so they know that we are taking this seriously. Getting those love signals right. In closing, I thought it would be encouraging to look in on how one average husband and wife handle this issue. Mark and Ann had a good marriage in general. They had been married 15 years when Mark noticed their sex life starting to wane. Ann was not responding the way she used to, was just not as interested, too busy, too tired. They didn't stop making love, but as Mark says, it just seemed to be less of a priority for her. Mark is a businessman and he sometimes works long hours, which used to be a source of grief for Ann. Years earlier, she had sat down with him and explained that it wasn't so much the hours that hurt her, but that he didn't come home when he said he would. She told him that he was a great husband, but that this one thing made her feel very uncared for. She told him that his willingness to tell her a realistic time when he'd be home and stick to it was, for her, one of the most important signals of his love. Mark understood, and that became a priority for him. Now, years later, Mark sat down with Ann and told her that he was concerned about the drop-off in their sex life. He drew a parallel to Ann's need for him to be home when promised. He said, I could be a great husband, but not do this one thing that is really important to you. And I still fail at making you feel loved. Having sex like we used to. Having you be responsive to me is the same thing for me. man had never understood it that way. And it was important for her to hear that she could be a great wife. But if she didn't respond to her husband's sexual desires, one of his most important love signals, she still failed at making him feel loved. As Mark now says, it clicked for her. And that changed everything. Has your husband been sending you signals? Has your husband been sending you signals that he is unhappy about your responsiveness to him? It's possible that he may wish he could explain this to you, but doesn't know how. Or maybe he's tired, but you've discounted the importance of his request. Having heard from so many men on this, I would urge you, don't discount it. It is more important to him and to your relationship, and therefore your own joy and marriage, than you can imagine. Now that you understand the tender places in your husband's heart, hopefully you have developed compassion for him and the way he is wired. Let's take that compassion and understanding with us as we examine the next area of his inner life. And I'm going to repeat that last sentence. Let's take that compassion and understanding with us as we examine the next area of his inner life. And that does complete chapter number 5. Our next chapter, in chapter number 6, is entitled Keeper of the Visual Rolodex. Why it's so natural for him to look and so hard to forget what he's seen. So stay tuned to chapter number 6, which is coming up next here on Poem Praise 2. But until I talk to you again, I want you and your family to be blessed and have a wonderful rest of the evening. So until next time, later, y'all.